Hello everyone, it's Brandy here with BrandysCards. I am so excited. I have another Masculine Monday card for you. Thank you so much for all the wonderful feedback that I have received. I have really enjoyed looking through the catalog and pulling out stamp sets and finding the perfect stamp sets to create some cards for you and hopefully inspire you to create for those gentlemen in your life. So I have had a blast doing that, and I'm so happy to know that you're enjoying it too. So today I have the Stylish Sketches stamp set. Now this stamp set is for Celebration. That's right, so Celebration is only in the month of July and August of 2022. With a purchase of $50 before shipping and tax, you can select this stamp set as a free gift. Plus, you also get my host code gift as long as you use the host code and your order qualifies. So very exciting. This stamp set is absolutely precious. I love it, and I think it's perfect for our masculine series. Now we're going to focus on the fox today. So I'm going to show you how I created this beautiful card using the fox, and also I'm going to show you the leaf fall embossing folder. It is gorgeous, and you are going to absolutely want to have this embossing folder. Love it so much. And then we're going to move on to these adorable ducks. And my heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything. Is that not precious or what? I love it. And so on the inside, I stamped sending hugs. So the ducks are absolutely adorable, and I can't wait to show you how I watercolored those as well. So both of the cards use watercolored pencils and an aqua painter. So I'm going to show you exactly how I colored them, so hopefully that you can recreate them at home. Now, if you like my projects today and you enjoy my video presentation, make sure you click the like button. Be sure to like and subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming this fall and winter for holiday projects. All right, I'm excited. I want to dive right in and show you exactly how I colored this beautiful fox. He is so cute. So before I do that, let's just kind of prepare some of our parts and pieces. So first off, you're going to need the soft seafoam stamp pad. So that is the color that I'm going to use today, soft seafoam. And I'm going to start with this leaf. I have two pieces of seafoam here. And so I have two pieces of seafoam. I have one for the envelope flap, and then I also have another for my card. So I'm just going to move around this and just stamp my leaf kind of randomly for a background, okay? So, and I'll show you exactly how I put this card together here momentarily. So we're just going to stamp this piece. Again, this piece is for our envelope flap. So I think it'll make a really beautiful piece of stationery when it's all done. So don't worry about, the orientation, just kind of get it all stamped on there. So that worked out great. All right, so that is your soft seafoam leaf, and we're gonna set that aside. Now, I mentioned to you earlier the leaf fall embossing folder. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So here is the embossing folder. It's actually a 3D folder. So you will need the base plate plus a specialty plate so that this works properly. And here is, once you emboss it, here's the beautiful embossed cardstock. Oh, look at that. You can use either side. Absolutely beautiful. So I think I used this side on the first card, but I think we're going to use that side on this card, because I like to shake things up. So we've got that, so I'm going to set that aside, and now I'm going to show you exactly how I colored my fox. So you're going to need the stamp, right? I've already mounted it, and you're going to need StazOn Black. That's because we are going to use watercolor pencils. And, if you don't use a StazOn Black, a permanent ink, well then when you add water, when you color with water inside, it's going to bleed. So that's what I want to avoid, is I don't want it to bleed. So that's why I am using the StazOn Black. Now, you may have just seen that I just pulled in a really nice stitched rectangle. And you're thinking, okay, where did that come from? I didn't see you talk about that. And I totally understand, not to worry. Here is the stitched rectangle dies is what I used. And when you look at the stitched rectangle dies and kind of put them in order, I actually used the fourth one in. So starting from the outside, number 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the fourth rectangle, and I went ahead and die cut it ahead of time. Just to save time, I ran that through my cut and emboss machine. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in our watercolor pencils. Now, just kind of to go over with you one more time, I do have two different types. Well, they're the same type, but I have two different assortments of watercolor pencils. I have our original assortment, and I love that you can see the colors here on the back. And then I have an assortment number 2, you see? And this is a different assortment of colors. So of course I had to have them both because I thoroughly enjoy the watercoloring a lot. Now what I like to do is just kind of take them out a little bit so that I can see what I have. Now I have already pulled out a few that I want to use so that they were readily available for me as I start to color for you. Now first off, I'm going to start with Cajun Craze for my fox, and I am going to kind of start back here on his tail, and I'm going to just work my way down my fox's tail. Now remember, the harder you push, the more color you're going to deposit on the cardstock. The lighter you are, the less color, okay? So that will make sense when you see how we're going to add the water to, you know, to soften it and to move the color around, all right? So I'm kind of just randomly picking a few places that I think the color should be the darkest. And I'm going to add some underneath his little belly here. And, you know, again, I'm going to move the color around with my aqua painter, or my water painter. So that's why I'm not too worried about having him completely covered, because I already know that I'm going to have plenty of color on here to achieve the look I'm after. Now the next thing I would like is I am going to add a bit of crushed curry. I know that seems crazy, doesn't it? Well, not really, because I feel like I didn't want to add brown, but I wanted kind of another color in there, maybe a highlight color, if you will. So I decided that maybe a bit of crushed curry might just do the trick. Now here's my water painter. Remember, you twist off the edge or the end here, right? Twist it off, fill it full of water. You can see the little bubble, hopefully. And what I like to do, if you have a hard time sometimes with your hands pushing the water painter, I just give it a little push and deposit some water onto an acrylic block. So that's what I generally do so that I don't have to push on my water painter, okay? Just helps my hands a little bit. So now I'm just going to, you know, soften this color. Look how beautiful that looks. And that was fairly effortless, really. And so just, you know, ever so slightly with that water painter, move that color around and soften it. And of course, you can always go back in and you can always add more color as long as you wait for it to dry. You're going to want to wait for it to dry before you get in there and you start adding more color, just so that the paper fibers kind of settle a little bit. But I can already see I might want just a bit more color, but I'm liking it so far. Yeah, he is just beautiful, isn't he? So he's just turning out gorgeous. And again, I would recommend let it kind of settle and dry, but because I don't have time for that on video, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just add a bit more color so that I can show you kind of how I want him finished. And so I'm just adding a little more color around his face and darkening him up just a wee bit. Not much, but just a little bit. Ooh, that's pretty, just like that, isn't it? It's almost like, okay, be done, wise one. So here we go. I'm just kind of I just want to soften it just a little bit though. All right, I think that's perfect. So I'm gonna be done. He is beautifully colored. And now what I wanna do is I'm going to pull in, for my sky, Bermuda Bay. So that's the color I'm gonna use. And what I thought would be kind of cool is just to kind of, you know, on these little like wispies, honestly, they kind of make me feel like he's in motion, like he's moving and he's running and he's in motion. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with that, and that he has kind of got some wind around him. And so I'm just gonna darken that area, and then I am going to add some blue for a blue sky. Now I'm gonna kind of take it down to right about here, because then I'm gonna add my old olive for my ground or my grass. Now I'm using the side of my watercolor pencil. The reason I'm doing that is because it's a softer look, okay? It ends up blending a bit softer. So that is why I'm doing that. And I'm gonna kind of come in here and add some blue into these areas. Now, if I want some darker in some of the areas, I'm just going to maybe just add a bit more of the dark, right? So just a bit more dark here and there. And that, again, is so that I can have some contrast in the color. Wow, that's pretty cool. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and finish out with our old olive for our ground. So let's see, actually, let's do this first. So again, the idea is this is kind of the darkest part of it, right? Of the ground or the grass. And then we're just gonna add some of the color right through here. And I'm not looking for a lot of contrast there, or a lot of color. I'm actually kind of wanting that to be quite light, really. And so I've already got my, oh wow, look at that. I've got my water on my block, so that's all ready to go. And I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of a circular motion in hopes to kind of soften the color. And you can see it starts to kind of come to life, doesn't it? So pretty. So very, very, very pretty. And that's what I love, is like you can just move this color around, and then once the paper settles and dries, it's quite lovely. Now, I did not tell you, but this is not watercolor paper. No, it's not. It's actually the Stampin' Up! Basic White Thick cardstock. I really love my thick white. I do. And, you know, I fought it for a long time thinking, yeah, I don't know if I need the thick white. Okay, so once I gave in and I did it, I've never gone back. I love the thick white. So anyway, that's what I'm using here, is the Stampin' Up! Basic Thick White cardstock, and it seems to work beautifully. And I'm just making my way down my cardstock and just softening this color and maybe blending it into the ground. You see that? So just adding a bit of the color so it blends down into the ground. Now I do see up here, I'm not sure where that came from, and if I just made it worse, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm just gonna kind of blend that out a little bit. And you know, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I don't know. So anyway, there you go. And so that is your watercolored fox. He is so beautiful and so fun to work with. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me show you how I put this card together today. So I'm going to bring in all of my little parts and pieces here and show you exactly how I put him together. So I have my basic white card base. I have some liquid adhesive. And remember, we embossed this using our cut and emboss and the leaf fall embossing folder. So that is the embossing folder that I used. And I'm going to add that right about there. Perfect. Now, do you remember we stamped these leaves in soft seafoam on soft seafoam cardstock? So that made a really pretty background. So it's kind of a fall background, kind of like he's running. I love it. I love it. I love it. So then we're going to flip this guy over. And now we're going to add our Stampin' Dimensionals. Stampin' Dimensionals are going to go right behind here. Now, because the cardstock was watercolored, it might be a little curly. So you might want to just go ahead and add a few extra dimensionals just for that reason, to make sure that you've got it, you know, so it's tacked down quite well and it's flat. Now before we do that, I do want to wrap a bit of natural twine around my card. So Stampin' Up, you know, we now have the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. Yeah, so it's pretty fantastic. And instead of just buying white now, you actually get a black, a vanilla, and you've got kind of a gray, more of a natural, you know, gray in there, and then this natural color. So I didn't realize how much I enjoyed having a choice until they put them into an essential pack. And I can testify now that I like a choice, and it's been quite nice. Because I don't know that I would have actually bought a vanilla or maybe that other color. So it's really kind of helped me just, you know, to be able to have a choice. So here we go. So earlier I tied one of these bows, and my string was, you know, it's been wrapped around the little spool there, so he gets kind of wonky and unruly, but it does settle down after a little while. You just kind of have to be patient with it. So there we go. And I may just take my snips really quick and snip that off for you really quick there. Perfect. Okay, so I can work on that later, but I do have my fox here, and I am going to take him and stick him right here in the center of my card. Now I do want my little bow to kind of come over a little bit, so I'm just going to move that just a wee bit, and then we're going to stick our fox down. Perfect. Now the next thing I'm excited to show you is the natural finish ribbon. Oh, this ribbon is so beautiful, and I have enjoyed creating with it. I even put it on the duck card, so I'm going to show you that on the duck card. You're going to need some tear and stick tape, and here is here's a little strip of it. I actually put my tear and stick tape along the top edge. The reason is because I'm going to cut this bottom edge off. Yeah, I'm cutting it off right along there. Now I am using some big scissors. It's quite easier than my small snips. So if you have some ribbon scissors or something like that, you just might want to use them. It is definitely a bit easier. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and kind of pull off some of these fibers. Yeah, so just use the point of the scissors to kind of get in there and do that. And then all of a sudden you start getting this really super cool frayed edge. I absolutely love it. Now you do have a lot of little things hanging around, so you'll have to just make sure you brush those off to the side. I do feel like they kind of get stuck everywhere. But anyway, so as you can see, I've just made a really cool little frayed edge. Now the tear and stick tape is a two-way stick tape, right? So I just pulled the paper off, and I'm going to put this right here along the bottom of my fox. This sentiment, it's the best time of year, actually came from this stamp set here, the Peaceful Deer. So I used this sentiment right there. It's the best time of year. You know, because I wasn't sure, is it, you know, it's fall, and, you know, I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to use this card. So I felt like that was kind of a really nice note that I could send. So I'm adding some dimensionals behind this sentiment, and I'm going to center that right here by my fox. Oh, I love it. I hope you do too. So here, check this out. The next thing I have to show you, use that embossing folder, and do you remember this piece of stamped seafoam cardstock? This is for your envelope. What I did is I actually put it inside my leaf fall embossing folder. I ran it through the embossing folder, and check out this beautiful envelope flap. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so that's how you can create a beautiful envelope to match your fox. So how cool is that? I loved making my envelope and making it coordinate. And then when you stamp it and then you emboss it with the embossing folder, it just took it to a whole new level. So I'm really excited about that. Now, up next, I have some cute little ducks. I'm going to show you how I colored those ducks, and I will have the card to show you kind of how I put it together. Now, all of the sizes and the dimensions are going to be on BrandysCards.com. So you'll be able to go to BrandysCards.com and you click on my blog. And when you do, you'll be able to find these projects. And I hope that you download your PDF tutorial and hole punch it and put it in your idea and inspiration book. Speaking of ideas and inspiration, if you need more of that or places to find some ideas and inspiration, make sure you go to my beginner series and you click on the video that's ideas and inspiration. I share like, 12 different places to look for inspiration as you start crafting in your craft room and start making your cards. So definitely check that out. It's pretty awesome. And you might find a place that you didn't know about. Yeah, so check that out. All right, so let's go to our ducks. They're super cute too. All right, so here's our duck card. Oh, they're so cute. Yes, they are. Precious, precious, precious. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring back in my paper here. There we go. And I have another piece of basic white thick cardstock, and I have my Stays on Black. Now, when using Stays on Black, as soon as I'm done with this video, the first thing I'm going to do is clean my stamps, just to make sure that that Stays on Black doesn't dry out my stamps. So you want to make sure that you clean your stamps immediately following use, okay? So here we go. We're bringing it all back in. And I'm going to just kind of move my little colors so I have those. And I believe, oh yeah, early espresso, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing with my duck that I did with my fox. And I'm just going to add a bit of color where I think that the color should be the darkest. And then that color is what I'm going to use to move, to like move around and move around and lighten in lighter areas. And the same thing with the female duck. So I'm just going to kind of move around here. It's so funny because I actually colored my first duck and I showed it to my husband and I was super excited. And he's like, well, your duck has a blue head. And I'm like, well, I pulled up pictures on Google and that's what they have. And he's like, no, it's kind of a green metallic. So anyway, I went back to work and I'm excited to show you kind of how I achieved that green metallic look that he was talking about. Now, I do have a basic gray, and what I found is kind of under here, where they kind of sit in the water, they get a little bit more dingy under there. So that basic gray really kind of worked out well. So again, bring in your little block and start on the darkest part of the color, and you can see that you can move that color around. And so that's what I think is so cool, is you can kind of move that color around, which is going to give you that light and that dark. Instead of coloring the whole thing right off the gate. And see how I can kind of bleed these two together? Oh, so cool. So, so cool. And the same thing for Mama Duck. We're just going to kind of add some color on her. And I kind of like her being a little bit lighter in the breast area here. And so you can kind of wipe off some of that. Oop! Oh, yikes. Not good. We got a sploogie. Let's see if we can kind of lighten the sploogie. That's kind of what I would do. Just sort of lighten it the best you can. But it is watercolor. And if you get one of those, so that kind of worked. If you get one of those, then you might even make a blue sky, right? So I think that's beautiful. What I'm going to do next is I have Night of Navy, and I'm going to come up here to his head. And I know you're like, okay, Brandy, you were just talking about a blue head and you're using blue. No, I know that, but it really kind of made a nice, nice color, that metallic-y color. So then I have Granny Apple Green, and that kind of gave me that bright green that I was trying to achieve. And let's pick up some water, make sure that our brush is clean, and I'm going to do my little circular motion. Do you see? Oh, how cool is that? I just love that. Isn't that beautiful? So that totally gives you that look that I was trying to accomplish, you know, with that kind of greenish color. Now, you can go darker if you want. This guy, I went a little darker. Maybe this one, you want to leave it just like that. It's entirely up to you. Now, for his bill, I used both a, actually, that's not what I used. I used the crushed curry. So I used a crushed curry pencil, and I also used a pumpkin pie pencil. And for the grass, I used, let's see, pumpkin pie, and then I used old olive for the grass. So those are the different colors that I used. Now you'll notice my heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything, and then sending hugs. So the stamp set that I used to create the sentiment came from the Eden's Garden stamp set. So that's where you're going to find these different sentiments. I thought they were perfect for this card. And before I go, the one last thing that I'd like to show you is how I did the ribbon on this card. So what I did is I actually used the Timeworn Type embossing folder, and that created this fantastic kind of embossed look. So what I did is I ended up just taking a piece of scrap, really, and I adhered it to the top of my basic white cardstock. And then I added a couple of strips behind my Naturals ribbon here. And I'm going to just take that off. Gosh, I love this stuff for that reason. It's pretty fantastic. And I'm going to kind of hide this edge and finish it. I thought it was kind of a really neat, very natural, earthy kind of look. So I really liked that a lot. Then you're going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals, your adhesive foam dots, and you're going to pop that up. I then have just kind of another square here, a rectangle, and then I would also add dimensionals behind the ducks and pop those up as well. And then I ended up pulling in, because of course it's our masculine series, and I love these rustic metallic dots. And so I pulled those metallic dots in, and it's right about here that I added my dot. So really cool, super fun. Let's bring in both cards. You know, if you were to make an envelope, I might emboss it basic white with that Timeworn Type. I think that would be pretty fantastic, really. So here, I'm going to bring back in my envelope for my fox. And here he is. Do you see the yellow in there? Oh, that's so fun. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed my cards for you today. I have enjoyed creating them for you, and I love to watercolor. Watercoloring can be a little intimidating, but once you kind of get the hang of it and you practice a little bit, I promise you, you can do it. I want you to give it a try. It's really a lot of fun, and I find it quite calming, if you will. I love to color, and I love to kind of move those colors around. So if you liked my cards today, please be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to click that like button and subscribe. I would be grateful, and I'd love to have you back here with us again. I have lots more projects coming for you. We've got a beautiful new holiday catalog that just launched on July 1st of 2022. And so lots more ideas, lots more beautiful art, designer series papers. OMG, so many cool things. So I'm excited to create and share with you a bunch of projects from there. Now, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, please be sure to reach out to me. If you would like some catalogs, I'd love to send you a set of complimentary catalogs. These books are like beautiful idea and inspiration books. There is, oh my gosh, there are samples everywhere that you can case and get ideas from. So casing is copy and share everything. It's okay, absolutely. And my hope is that you're inspired to case one of these cards and send them to a friend, family member, or a gentleman in your life. So don't forget to reach out to me if you need catalogs. If you're one of my current customers, thank you. I'm grateful for you. I appreciate you so much in your business, and I'm excited to be on this card making journey with you. All right, everybody, take care. Happy stamping. Bye now.